my preamble cut out, for which I give you thanks. Okay, we're going to start on our backs. So make sure you've got plenty of mat behind you, plenty of support for yourself. Make sure you've got padding and warmth underneath you. We're just going to draw back into a semi-supine position, having your feet stacked level with your hips and your shoulders. Back rests lightly on the mat, softening with each breath, encouraging your vertebrae to sink into the mat. So we're not pushing our lower back into the mat, but we are allowing gravity and the softness of the breath to allow the vertebrae to draw down. So keep your feet planted on the floor. If it's too much for your hips to hold your knees like this, you can take your feet slightly wider and your knees will naturally fall in. But most people find they can support in this position. So just soften here into the mat. Bring your hands to your lower belly and just observe your breath. See what's going on with your breath. Take 2 or 3 really deep breaths here. If you're taking a deep breath, your tummy should rise. I know I've spoken about this before, but if you're desperately holding your tummy in because you're looking on the video afterwards and thinking, oh, shouldn't have had all those pies, then you have to let it go. And you can be joyful that no one can see your belly. And I'll just get over myself that you can all see mine. But when you breathe in, it should rise. That's to allow the diaphragm to draw down, to inflate the lungs fully. And then as you exhale fully, it will naturally draw back in again. So really use these few breaths to increase awareness of what your belly gets up to when you're breathing. Doming as you inhale and releasing as you exhale. One more, and then as you exhale, gently draw your knees into your chest, rolling from side to side, Apanasana, knee to chest pose. Keep hold of your right shin and stretch your left leg away now. So already there's a bit of stretch going on in your left hip flexor. Take your right hand to your right shin and start to roll that hip around in its socket. Maybe you keep your left hand on your left hip to stop the left hip joining in. So this is the right hip. You're just rolling this ball and socket joint around. Then we're going to change direction and go the other way. So circles in the hip socket. You can keep your eyes closed and focused on your breath. Focus on the feeling in your hips. Observe any clicks and bumps as they go through. Then hug that knee into the chest. Now you're going to take your right foot across towards your left thigh, flexing both feet actively. So we're now active in both legs. You're drawing your right little toe back towards your knee as far as possible, pressing your heel away. Take both hands underneath your right calf so that your fingertips come around to the shin, taking an underhand grip, just like we do in baby cradle pose. Inhale here, and as you exhale, draw that shin further up towards your chest. It may come quite close, it may still be miles away, it doesn't matter. What you're aiming for here is to draw your little toe round towards your knee, actively flexing through the foot, and you should feel a stretch in the outer hip on the right hand side. One more breath here. Just working into that pose. Making sure your back hasn't risen up off the floor and making sure you're still flexing through both feet. Inhale, gently release, hug that right knee into your chest, relax both feet now and draw the other leg in. Swirl around the feet and then we're going to go on the other side. Stretch your right leg away. Point the toe, feel the stretch in that right hip flexor as you draw the heel down to the floor. Now we're going to rotate in the left hip, so take your left hand to your left shin and roll around that joint. Change direction and go the other way. So we're opening up the left hip here. Yeah, nice stretch. You can keep your right fingers on your right hip to make sure it's not getting in on the action. And same thing as we just did on the right, hug that left knee in towards your chest, reach around for your left foot, draw it towards your right thigh. So it's flex, foot is flexed, and the baby toes are drawing towards your knee. Flex through both feet and see if you can draw this shin up towards your chest. Powering through your right heel, feeling that stretch in the left thigh and in the left buttock and in the left hip. Quite a lot of places. Make sure your throat is nice and relaxed, back of your head is long. Avoid taking a lot of tension into your shoulders, so keep your attention on your shoulders and make sure that just because you want your foot to flex and your leg to come in, you're not hunching up your shoulders and losing your neck. We don't have a net gain if we compromise. Just gently release that leg, draw the other leg in. We're back in Upanasana, rolling from side to side. Take a couple of circles, draw your coccyx around the mat, or rather drawing a circle around your coccyx on the mat, and then change direction. Now bring your hands to the backs of your legs and start to roll up, just rocking up through the spine between your shoulder blades and your tailbone. Don't come onto the head. Just feel that stretch through the spine and then come up to seated. Okay. So stretching the legs out in front of you, flexing the feet in Dandasana. Try and get your spine as long as possible. So you're drawing your chest forward and your shoulders back. Float the fingertips up to the ceiling. Stretch up through your fingertips, but try not to let your shoulders come up to your ears. So drawing the shoulders gently away from the ears and stretching the fingertips. Feel a nice stretch through the side of the body, trying to get your body as straight as possible in this position. Then relax the arms, relax the feet, bend the knees and draw both feet around to your left hips. I'm going to adjust so you can see me. So you're sitting in a mermaid position, like the statue at the entrance to Copenhagen Harbour. So press into your fingertips, lengthen your spine in the mermaid position, and then we're going to twist to the right. Take your left hand across to your right thigh, take your right hand behind, Bharadvajasana, sage pose, drawing your shoulder blades together and looking over your right shoulder if you can. So this twist has the disadvantage that you tend to want to fall towards that right hip. So press into the fingertips, lift out of that hip, and you'll feel a lovely stretch in your right hip. Those of you who are more flexible might be able to slide that left hand palm down underneath the right hip, or you might try the bind, which means taking your right hand around and seeing if you can get it into the crook of your left elbow. That's quite a stretch. It also means you've got no support now, so you're having to really hold yourself upright. So if that's a struggle, press back into the fingertips to get that height. Breathing deeply. Inhale here, exhale, release the twist, stretch the legs out in front, point and flex a couple of times, and then draw around towards your right hip, pressing into the left hand so you don't collapse over to the left. Sitting upright before you take the right hand across to your left thigh, take your left hand behind. Inhale for height, exhale to twist to look over your left shoulder. Again, your options are to slide that hand underneath your right thigh, wrist faces outwards, possibly come away from your fingers and see if they'll come around towards, no they won't, towards your inner elbow. You've got that available to you. Lift and lengthen, feel the stretch in the hips. One more breath, inhale, exhale, start to release. So we're coming onto all fours now. So set up your box position, always shoulders over wrists, knees underneath hips, everything hip width apart. And we're going to do a couple of cat-cow curls. Excuse me while I eat my hair. Exhaling as you round the spine, eye gaze goes towards the thigh. Inhaling as you lift and lengthen. So we exhale, flexing the spine, tucking the chin in. And we inhale as the chin lifts, the eye gaze lifts. The sternum draws forward as the shoulders draw back. That gives you more extension here. Exhale into flexion. Inhale into extension. Next time you exhale, sit back on your heels and stretch the arms away, bringing the forehead down towards the mat. Inhale to come back up again. Set up your box position. Make sure you've got plenty of space in front of you on the mat. We're keeping the hips as far as possible over the knees here, and we're going to start to walk the hands forward. So as you walk the hands forward, you want to draw your chest and chin down towards the mat, sending the hips back. This is Anahartasana, sometimes known as puppy pose or melting heart pose. Anahata is your heart chakra. So you're opening your heart space here. If it's too tough, then you can bring your brow to the floor. Otherwise, you're trying to bring your chest down and your chin down. And that's going to be quite a strong stretch for the upper back as well as for the chest. Relax the feet. Breathe deeply. One more breath here. Inhale, press into the fingertips, walk the hands up. Sit briefly back in child's pose. You can bring your hands around to your heels this time and tuck the chin in. And then we inhale, we come back onto all fours. Press through the fingers. Press through the toes and lift the knees up and come into downward facing dog. Send the hips back, send the heels back and down. Draw that nicely opened chest towards your thighs. And then soften the knees and walk to the front of the mat. Come into forward fold. From your forward fold, walk your fingertips forward, send your buttocks back, and start to draw yourself up to standing. Okay, so from here we've got a little sequence. We're going to come into Utkatasana. Tuck your buttocks down. Draw your buttocks down towards your heels. Check you can still see your toes, that most of your weight is in your heels. Open your chest. Bring your hands to your heart center. Inhale, exhale. See if you can come a little bit more deeply into this pose. Now inhale, take your arms up and over, bring your palms together above your head. And as you exhale, come back into Utkatasana, but open the arms to the side. So I'm opening to the right and my left knee is wanting to come forward, my right hip's wanting to come back. So your real challenge here is to keep your knees level. You'll have to look at them occasionally because sometimes they sneak around without you realizing. Then we inhale, we come back up to Urdhva Hastasana. And we exhale, we go the other way. So again, you want to check your trailing knees not coming forward. Open the arms as wide as is comfortable for you. Inhaling up, exhaling to the side. Inhaling up, exhaling to the side. So we've got a couple of things going on here. We've got that intense knee bend of Utkatasana, that intense stretch in the buttocks and in the thighs, but we've also got a twist. So do one more on each side. Make this your last round with that little flow. And then come back up to Urdhva Hastasana and hands come to the heart center. So we're going to do a sequence now. Inhale with the hands at the heart center. Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale, and as you exhale, we're going to come into revolved Utkatasana. It's really just what we've been doing, but we're keeping the hands to the heart center here, which is a little bit harder. Press into your right foot, lift your left heel, and see if you can float your left foot back. So we're coming into a revolved lunge, still with the hands at the heart center if you can. If that's too tough, drop your left fingers down and stretch your right hand up to the ceiling. Otherwise, you're trying to press everything in line, crown through to the heel, and bring the hands to the heart center if you can. One more breath here. And then release your left hand down, frame your right foot with your right hand also, press into both hands and we're coming into plank. Press through your heels, spin your inner elbows forward, press lightly out through the sides of the shoulders so that you're not tempted to collapse here. You're using that strength so that you've got a slight dome across the shoulders. Exhale, draw the chest and chin down to the floor and tuck the toes, keeping the bottom high. And inhale as you draw the chest forward, wrap the shoulders and look down, Bhujangasana. Exhale, tuck the toes, come up into downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg and draw it all the way forward into lunge. Make sure you're light in the fingertips here and make sure your heel's under your knee. Help it if you need to. And then exhale, bring your left foot into meet, forward fold. Inhale, arms up and over. Exhale, hands to heart center. I'm just going to change ends because it's easier for you to see. We're doing the same thing on the left. Feet hip distance apart. Inhale, exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale again, revolve to your left. Check your right knee's not creeping forward. Inhale, weight in the left leg as you float the right leg back. This is the tricky bit. Draw your inner thighs together to try and achieve that rotation. Your option is here. Float one hand to the floor if that's too tough. Otherwise, you're lightly pressing your elbow, your tricep against that leading thigh to give you more rotation. Now our flow sequence. Inhale, press the hands into the floor. Come into Kumbhakasana plank pose, retaining the breath here. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Take Chaturanga if it's in your practice. And then we come through into upward dog or Bhujangasana. Come a little higher in your cobra as you feel warm. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, the left leg goes up, it draws forward. Help it if you need to. Make sure it comes all the way to the front of your mat. And then exhale, bring your other foot to meet it. We're in forward fold. Inhale, take the arms up and over. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. So that was our sequence. That should have got you a little bit warmer. We're now going to do some intense stretches. So take the feet nice and wide and come into warrior two. Doesn't matter which way you're facing, we're going to do both sides. So come low in the hips. Your back foot, or one foot, should be parallel with the mat, the other at right angles. Heel to heel alignment or heel to arch, depending a lot on your hips and what you find more comfortable and stable. Inhale here and exhale, come a little bit lower. Take the arms out to the side and look down the fingers that correspond to the bent leg. Lower on every exhalation, but avoid leaning forward. Draw into your back arm so that your shoulders stay square over your hips. So we're just working on our warrior two here. We quite often do it quite quickly in a sequence. We've done a quick sequence. Now I'm going to slow a little just to focus on the alignment. Inhale, straighten both legs. Turn one set of toes in and the other toes out. So we're coming to warrior two on the other side. Again, focus on your setup here. Your hips are opening to the long side of your mat. Your knee is tracking towards the short side of your mat. And your eye gaze is down. The fingers that correspond to the bent leg. That's your drishti. Check your shoulders are staying over your hips. Go a little lower if you can. You're hoping one day to get this thigh parallel with the floor. Just the direction of travel. We're going to do that again. We're going to straighten both legs, adjust the feet. Warrior two. Coordinate now with your breath. We inhale to straighten the legs and adjust the feet. We exhale. Warrior two. Keep going with this. Inhaling as you come to center. Exhaling to warrior two. Your option is to float your fingers down so they come inside your front foot and lift the toes of the trailing foot. This is Skandasana. Inhale, come to center. You can keep your hands on the floor and walk to the other side. Also Skandasana. Lots of variations here. You can, some people like to lift the heel here. Or you can do the no hands version. Choice is yours. But what you are going to do is inhale to the center and exhale to the other side. Keep going with that. Make sure you've done an even number on each side. We'll do one more round or take a break if you've had enough. Your option is still warrior two to warrior two. Excuse my hip. Then next time you come to center, turn both sets of toes in, ready for Prasarita Padottanasana. Inhale, lengthen your body, hands on the hip. Start to tip. If you've got a block, it's handy to have it on the floor in front of you. We're coming down with a flat back, trying to get the chest parallel to the floor. Hold it here. Breathe. And then we're going to come a little deeper. And if you've got a block, bring your hands to the block or bring your forearms to the block. Or if you don't need a block, come down where you can. Breathing deeply. Hips high. Inhale, press into the fingertips, lengthen the spine. Press your left hand into the floor, equidistant between your feet, and stretch your right fingertips up to the ceiling. We're coming into a twist here. This is a twist for the thoracic spine. If you can put your hand on your sacroiliac area, check it's flat. You don't want to be twisting all the way through the lumbar spine. You want to be twisting through the upper chest. Inhale, and as you exhale, replace your right hand where your left hand was, and we'll go to the other side. Parivrtta, Prasarita, Padottanasana. Inhale, float the fingertips down, turn the heels in. You might want to adjust the feet in slightly, toes stay out, and we're coming up into Utkatta Konasana, sometimes known as goddess squat or Devyasana. So here, you want to tuck the tailbone under, but you don't want the knees to roll in. So externally rotate your thighs, tuck your tailbone under, lift your chest as much as possible, bring your hands to your heart center or your hands out, so your palms face forward, elbows draw down, chest is open. Inhale and exhale, go a little deeper if you can. Breathing. And one more, if you've got it. Use your breath. Inhale, straighten both arms, straighten both legs. Work your feet in, so they're a bit narrower, a bit wider than hip distance apart. Press your hands together and come down into Malasana. So I'm going to turn to the side for lots of reasons. Tuck the tailbone underneath, wrap your shoulders back and down, press your hands into your heart center. So you can see from the side, I'm trying to get my back straight here and my chest open. If this is not available to you, take a couple of blocks and make yourself a seat. Still going to get a nice opening in the hips. Or if it's your heels that are bothered by trying to bring them down to the floor, use the block under your heels. Those of you who are more advanced, we're going to have a go at Bakasana today. Crane pose. So take your hands, spread your fingers wide. Think of a triangle between the mound of your first finger, the mound of your little finger, and the heel of your hand. That's where your strength is going to be. So plant those two triangles of your hand firmly on the floor and just start to rock very gently forward and back. If it's in your practice, you just don't want to wait, then go straight ahead. Now here, if you've got a cushion, a pile of cushions, a bolster or a pillow, it's a good idea to have it there. If you've not done this pose before, it just gives you a bit of security. So when you get used to moving your weight into your hands, if you feel that you're quite strong here, lift the hips, draw the feet in, lift the heels, plant your inner thighs onto your triceps and take your weight onto your hands. You may be able to take one toe up. You may be able to bring both toes up and draw them together. Now the trick here is to look forward rather than down. Look forward and across your mat. If you look right down or tuck your head in, then you are going to land on your head. Hence the need for cushions and caution. Caution is better than the cushions. If you have the caution, you don't need the cushions. So if you're having a go at that and you want to take a break and relax out your wrists, do so. If you want to come back into Malasana, do so. If you want another go at Bakasana, do so. If you're really skilled and you want to try bringing your elbows up into your inner armpits and taking a higher version, that requires more strength in the arms. Personally, I don't find that particularly comfortable, so I'm quite bony in the ribs and in the knees. So I've just got bone on bone there, which is not good at all. So I prefer to have fleshy parts on fleshy parts. So from here, we're going to sink our hips back and come down to the mat any way you can with a bump or with a hand to help you so you don't land too heavily. And now we've got our hips really open. We're going to do, yes, did I say? Upavista Konasana. So lifting away from your hips, lengthening your spine, flexing both feet. We're going to walk the hands forward and stretch out. Breathing deeply. So take your time here and just hang out here. If you're ambitious to try one further move, you can have a go at tortoise Kurmasana. Bring the feet in a little bit so you're not quite so wide. Really make sure you're perched up on your seated bones, knees up towards the ceiling. Stretch your hands out in front of you, and then maybe you can take them palms down underneath your thighs. If you can, and then you can straighten the legs, you're going to get an intense stretch. Here we do tuck the chin in. Look towards your navel. Because you're a tortoise, you've withdrawn everything from the outside world. So you're tucking it in. So if you want to take that, take that. If you'd rather stay here in Upavista Konasana, or even here. If your hands don't come easily to the floor, take a block in front of you, or maybe rest your forearms. That's a little bit more comfortable. And you don't have to be uncomfortable to do yoga. You just want to experience those stretches, experience the possibility of creating more space in the body. More importantly, creating space in the mind. So don't beat yourself up. Don't get into a great ego discussion with yourself about what you should or shouldn't be able to do. Come out of tortoise now if you're still in it, gently drawing your hands in from underneath you. And then we're all going to work our way back up into Dandasana. So just take your hands under your thighs, bring your feet together, press your feet into the floor, float your hands out in front and come down gently towards the mat. So you can come down using your hands, or if you want to work a bit harder, send your tailbone away, draw your pubic bone up, draw your belly button to your spine, and see if you can come down one vertebra at a time. Really, 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 really slowly, or not. Just do what you can. And when you get there, just like we did at the beginning of class, hug your knees into your chest. Roll gently from side to side and see if it feels any different. Hopefully your hips will be much more soft. Your lower back will have opened up. I can feel a difference. And I've done 2 or 3 classes already this morning. Feel a difference in the coccyx. I say 2 or 3. One was 2. One was rained off anyway. Hugging the knee into the chest. Inhaling here and exhaling as you release the feet back into semi-supine where we were at the beginning of class. So you can come straight into Shavasana, or you can bring the soles of your feet together and gently open your thighs to the side. So as you allow the thighs to fall open, just make sure you're not gripping in your hips. So if you need the support there, then take a block or cushions underneath your thighs. It's a restorative pose now towards the end of the class. So you're just allowing the stretch to happen rather than pushing. If it's comfortable here, stay here for another 3 to 5 breaths. Softening everything into the mat. When you get to the end of those 3 to 5 breaths, or if you simply have had enough already, gently support your thighs as you bring yourself back into semi-supine and slowly stretch the legs away into Shavasana, corpse pose. When you get there, let the feet flop open, let the hips flop open, let them go completely now. Palms open to the ceiling, back to the hands, back to the forearms, rest on the floor. Shoulders are soft, chest is soft, jaw is soft, throat is soft. Open your brow, unknit your brow. Floating, light and free on the surface of a lake, or if that's not your thing, floating in space. Let everything go now. Connect with your breath. stretched out on the earth like a corpse. That act of rest, Shavasana, brings peace to the mind and rest to the body. That's from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So take these few moments to find deep rest. And you may not always have 30 minutes for a practice at lunchtime or any other time of the day. But the bit of your practice you should never skip is Shavasana. So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling tight, if you're feeling tired, take a few gentle stretches, followed by a couple of minutes in Shavasana. Ideally, 15 or 20 minutes in Shavasana, but we don't live in a perfect world. And let's be grateful that we have these few minutes. So if you have to go back to work now, gently come out. If you've got a few minutes longer, then stay here. Bring a little movement back in the body. When you're ready, come up by rolling over onto one side first and pushing up gradually to seated. I wish you a good day, a good week. I hope you'll join me again on Thursday or next Tuesday. Namaste.